The history of the world from the 16th to the 18th centuries has usually been told as the story about European men. Lots of men in ships, male map makers, men making the Reformation, male merchants and investors expanding capitalism. But the research that I've been part of over the last 40 years now has challenged these narratives, helping to create a history with a wider range of actors. For one example of this, take the Protestant Reformation. Traditionally told as a story that starts and sometimes ends with Martin Luther. But Luther was not the only reformer, and among these reformers, there were women. There were writers like Argula von Grumbach, a German noblewoman who got angry at the treatment of a student accused of Lutheran leanings and who wrote and published a letter and a number of other works for which her husband got into great trouble. Here she is on the title page of the book, Bible in hand, defending her words. Or Katharina Zell, a reformer in Strasbourg, who published pamphlets defending clerical marriage, including her marriage, letters of consolation for wives whose husbands had been banished for religion, and a letter to the citizens of Strasbourg justifying her actions, which she knew, as she said, were not normal for women. Or Marie Dantier, a former abbess who left her convent to help the cause of the Reformation in Geneva and published a letter to Queen Marguerite of Navarre in 1539 defending some of the Protestant reformers, including John Calvin. In this, she calls on Marguerite and other women to join her, as you see in her words, proclaiming what she saw as religious truths. Besides writers, we also study martyrs, for dying for your faith was an equal opportunity fate. In The Martyr's Mirror, a Dutch collection of gruesome accounts of martyrdom, about 30% of the people are women, praised for their manly courage. For Anna Jans, executed in Rotterdam in 1539, The Martyr's Mirror has her lengthy testimonial to her infant son Isaiah and her triumphant and apocalyptic trumpet sound that Mennonites today still sing. On her way to her execution, she gave Isaiah away to a baker to care for him. Like Martyr's Mirror, John Fox's Acts and Monuments is full of women in both text and illustrations. The most horrific image in the whole book, and it's full of horrific images, is 3 women of Guernsey, one of whom gave birth during the burning. The text relates the officers in charge grabbed the infant and then threw it back in the fire. There were also female rulers who had authority over religion as well as politics. Women like Elizabeth of Brunswick-Kauenburg, who became regent for her son when her husband died and made Brunswick Lutheran. That's a story I'm especially pleased to sell certain Wisconsin Lutherans. Or Marguerite of Navarre, the sister of the King of France and wife of the King of Navarre, who supported Calvinism through writing, patronage, and political influence. Her noble birth and family connections gave her a level of political power that governments would not grant women again until the 20th century. And those Tudors. Mary attempted to wrench England back to Catholicism after her father Henry had made it Protestant, and Elizabeth reversed the policies of Mary. In all these cases, our research has shown their political and dynastic concerns mixed with religious convictions, just like they did for men. But gender's not just about women, of course. It's also about recognizing that men were men, and so we've explored masculinity. Protestant reformers, here in a fanciful 17th century painting that shows a bunch of them together who never met, created a new idea of masculinity, that of a married pastor with a wife and children, an important root of middle-class ideas today. Kings and emperors, important in the Reformation, created a different kind of masculinity that you can see very much on display here, in which their biological manhood is right at the center. Henry's, of course, failed him, which is why there's a Reformation in England. All right, so that's gender. What about globalizing the Reformation? We can do this in several ways and have done so. First, through comparison, such as comparing Luther and his exact contemporary Guru Nanak, the founder of the Sikh religion, now the world's 5th largest. Their ideas are strikingly similar. Both men emphasized that God bestows unmerited grace on unworthy sinners. Both men thought that people who are not members of the educated elite should have access to religious writings, so they should appear in the common spoken language rather than in a specialized archaic language. Their followers came to idolize both of them, as we've just seen for Luther in the hoopla for the 500th anniversary of the Reformation, hoopla I've been a part of. Both men were portrayed as saintly, with halos and other signs of divine inspiration, despite the fact they both denied any humans had special spiritual status. Another way to study the Reformation globally is to study its expansion around the world, for Protestant ideas were not just spread through print, but also through trading voyages, migration, conquest, and colonization, like that of the Dutch, shown here. During the early 18th century, Protestant missionaries went to other European colonies, the most energetic of whom were Moravians, male and female, European and African, such as Anna Nischen and Rebecca Proughton, shown here, who traveled the Atlantic from Labrador to Patagonia. So both gender and global. Today, thinking of its long-term impact, Protestant Christianity is no longer a European religion or even a religion of European background. 41% of the world's Protestants today live in Africa, a share that will grow to 53% or more by 2050. By 2050, less than 10% of the world's Protestants will live in Europe. So, once you've gendered and globalized the Protestant Reformation, which is a very male and very European story, you can gender and globalize anything. The world's history, as well as its present, is becoming increasingly multivocal and multi-centered, and I'm really proud to have been part of that. Thanks.